When was the first time you recognized art brings you joy? You felt the spark and magic that comes with creating. The uplifting feeling you feel when you do anything that is your calling and just feels natural. The first memory I can think of is when I was 6 years old and in school. It was our first art lesson of the year, and the teacher had come up with the lesson of abstraction. She said, "Scribble in a circle to your heart's content, and then pause. Take a moment and look carefully at the scribble and watch patterns and objects emerge in those scribbles." Being 6 years old and having to grasp the idea of abstraction was a challenge for most of my schoolmates. But for me, it was perfectly clear. I scribbled gleefully in a circle and could easily find shapes emerge. I drew a fish, and then another fish, and then another one, and suddenly I could see a complete picture. I was drawing a fishbowl with fishes and shells and sea creatures and all these fun elements that I could pick up. And it was with no effort that I could create it. But of course, the introvert that I was, instead of being proud of what I created, I got more and more nervous about how I could be able to do it while the smart students were struggling. I was scared to show my work to anyone because I was convinced I was doing something wrong. Of course, you always have that one nosy student in every class that was more interested in what others are doing than themselves. And she picked out my art book and screamed, "Hey, Alfiya's doing it!" I was mortified to be the center of attention. But I soon realized that everybody was staring at me because my classmates were fascinated and my teacher was thoroughly impressed by me. Though it's literally decades since that moment, I can still see it clearly in the eye of my memory. It was that impactful. Nostalgia is the journey I take every time I feel a little down. Being away, as you know, from family and friends and all the elements that shaped me to what I am today gets me down sometimes. When I look back and walk down memory lane, it makes me feel that my life had roots and continuity. It makes me feel good about my present self and my relationships now, not just with others but also with myself. It provides a texture to my life that gives me strength to move forward. Reminiscing past memories is always a go-to treasure trove of inspiration for me. For me, nostalgia makes easy association with how far I've come. Some moments, like when I was in school, remind me of my natural potential, and some memories remind me of how much I've built on myself. Like when I was in architecture school and I came across the Eiffel Tower, and it absolutely fascinated me. So much so that in class, I was the one you went to if you had any queries about the Eiffel Tower, not the teachers. Why, you ask? I think it's cause everywhere you look in books and movies, this iron tower, cold and dull, has become the symbol of romance, love, and everything that is the opposite of what it is. a metal tower. This paradox of a structure became an obsession for me in school, and I spent years trying to draw and master all the nooks and crannies of this wrought iron masterpiece. And because my obsession was so palpable, it was in your face all the time. And so, on special occasions during that time of my life, all I got as presents was anything to do with the Eiffel Tower. My room was filled with mugs, jewelry, trinkets of any kind in that shape. I would daydream, about standing below the Eiffel Tower at night and gazing into the night sky through the iron crevices of the tower. It has been months, years since I was this obsessed with something. But looking through all the little treasures and trinkets has inspired me to try and resurrect that side of me again. They say what you feed your brain in the last 5 minutes before you sleep determines how you wake up feeling or being the next day. Since I spent most of yesterday drenched in nostalgia and memories of the good old days, my subconscious was filled with them, and I slept dreaming of all things Paris, and it was a blissful slumber for me. All this talk of nostalgia reminds me of one of my absolute favorite movies of all time, Midnight in Paris. If you have not watched it yet, I won't give anything away, but you must promise me to watch it when you have the time. Along with being shot in Paris and the story being saturated with nostalgia, it touches on a subject that I've been intrigued by all my life: golden age thinking. What is golden age thinking, you ask? It is the notion that a different time period is better than the one you are living in. I'm not unhappy with my present, of course, but I crave of a simpler time sometimes, and it's easier to have a romantic perspective on the past than what you're going through in the present. Things of the past have always given me comfort and a sense of belonging for reasons still unknown to me. We all live in a world that is just fast-paced and filled with versions and updates, Very few people believe in delayed gratification. Think about it. How often can you change your phone? Every day if you can afford it. But when you walk into a museum and look at a chunky old telephone on display and learn that only a few could afford one, and it would take months to even acquire one if they could. All I'm trying to say is it was a simpler time. You could either have something or not have it. There were no affordable versions or a rat race to acquire things. You could have a telephone in 6 months, or you could write letters. From the world I live in, that perspective is fascinating. So, back to working on the idea of using nostalgic ambience into an artwork. Let me just say, I haven't drawn or painted the Eiffel Tower in years, so I'm a bit rusty. But the key to any progress is just to begin. So, I soldiered on. As I let my brain loose and the ideas just flow through my hand on paper and not worry about how good it looks or if the angles are right, I could see on paper where my brain was taking me, and an idea emerged. For me, looking through a window always represents transition. Transition between the indoor and the outdoor, between the heat of the day and the shade we seek, and between gleaming into our past or wondering about the future. It felt like it was the best conduit to describe the metaphor of nostalgia. The figure peering through the window represents the reason for the window as a metaphor. It anchors you to the window so that you can begin your journey of reading into the artwork through the focal point of the painting, you, the viewer. It also adds, I think, some balance between the inanimate and the living. And of course, in this instance, the figure is peering through the window into nostalgia and creating a mood board of thoughts and ideas that I've had in the last few days. Inspiration can come from anywhere. You can expand your horizons, not just by looking to the future, but also by delving into your past. Nostalgia is a quality that not only gives you the ability to relive your special, impactful, and important memories, but it also can inspire you to create derivatives of your memories in the present for your future.